now.
What?
So, let me just pull
Miss,
up.
what's your team called?
It's called the Knights Who Say Ni. So Knights Who
Gotcha.
Say Ni. There's no the. It's Knights Who Say Ni. So what you need to do is you need to go and search for your match. Search for the match. But I've looked at the teams. I honestly think Mistays actually has an advantage here, but right now they're in the inducement phase, so it should take them a little while for them to get started, but it was the Knights Who Say Ni versus... It wasn't Yeti to the Party because they're in the playoffs. It was a Norse team by Das Schuttenheim. The Neckbeardz, yes. Now I remember their name. Down a player so they'll get a loner. They do have a Palm Berserker, a plus strength runner, and 2 level 3 Ulfs, both with block and mighty blow.
One moment, please. My connection isn't getting on yet.
Oh, the game started. Alright, so joining in. Okie dokie. So, should be closer than Miss Days is thinking. It really will be defined upon actual play. I think these teams are both fairly evenly matched. I'd give the edge to Miss Days, largely because he has 2 extra peasants. So, right there over on the left. He also does have a Mighty Blow Blitzer. Godfrey the Jackal. So the key with the game here is that he's going to be blitzing with that guy a lot. Trying to get out key positionals. I think the most important positional to get rid of early is Our Fat People Hate, because of the palm guard. Surprised he didn't go tackle here, but fortunately Mistays doesn't have any dodge. So, oh no, he does have 1 Raj tackle, and Heli's the Gladiator. Who is a ball stripper with wrestle, dodge, and tackle. He does have to be careful with his Ulfs. His Ulfs are in an exposed position. Pretty ripe for a peasant foul if he can knock them down. If not, you could just do a Dauntless Blitz on Arfit and try to get that plus strength runner off the pitch. I don't think there's any more people back here. Nope. I wish I could tell who actually won the kickoff, but unfortunately the replay doesn't give you... This live stream doesn't give you an idea. Probably would have been good for Mistays to kick. Because he has so many extra players, he can afford taking the hits early. But also, you also want to get the damage in, as much damage as possible. Especially since Das Schuttenheim only has 11 players. Can't really go too wrong either way. And the ball's deep. One square outside of the end zone. Perfectly fine for Bretonians considering they have pretty high movement.
And Luminous, I am in.
Okay, that's good. So you should be seeing what's going on then.
Yeah, my crystal ball is working just fine.
Nice. Yep, but it looks like the Schuttenheim avoids any sort of pitch, well, not pitch clear, but any removals with those initial blocks. Since Norse are only AV7, they tend to go down in the lightest of breezes. Opts to try to knock down the runner to get rid of that plus strength, but just rolls pushes.
That's a heavy knockdown.
Looks like we're going to see a foul here, though.
Some good luck with his tackles. That's interesting. Fend on the Norse.
No, Fend makes complete sense on Norse. It's one of two picks that you'll find on linemen. Largely because without agility of elves, they need the ability to disengage. And they're not very effective at dodging. But, oof, a bad foul. Puts a peasant off and only gets a stun with it. Probably wasn't worth it, since these are just linemen. Fortunately, Mistays has two peasants to give, but... So Slaz, where are you and what's exactly happening on your screen?
Just saw the foul right now.
Okay.
That was a regrettable foul.
I mean, I understand from Mistay's point of view is if you can get a unit removal, you'll start going up players, especially since the Neckbeardz don't have any spares. But
and an early off would mean an advantage throughout the game. Would you say it's completely wise to be targeting the peasants first with a blitz?
Well, yes and no. The peasants, you generally want to get out key positionals. The main problem with targeting the peasants with our fat people hate is that he has piling on, but you can't take use of it because peasants have fend. So you can't follow up, and as a result, you can't use piling on. If he had broken armor on, let's say, any of the other pieces like this dodge, wrestle, tackle piece, could have followed up and then used piling on. But he really didn't have a lot of choices in terms of where he could block safely with his Palm Berserker, and that's why he ultimately went with a peasant.
You see that flanking maneuver by the Ulfwinner of Vice Animals?
Yeah, just trying to get some ball pressure, it looks like. The runner, too, just in case there's some kind of turnover, but if Mistays is smart, he should be able to establish some kind of cage before doing any sort of blocks. Since Bretonians are quite fast, especially the blitzers. It looks like he's going to try to get a blitz off on the Palm Berserker. He's setting up for it. His cage is going to be basing that Berserker, so he's praying for a knockdown there. If he rolls both downs and skulls, it will put his ball in a considerable amount of danger. And it's a shame. He screwed it up. He's largely because he moved his Mighty Blow Berserker, who he was probably planning on blitzing with. to get that additional Mighty Blow hit, but it's not going to matter. It's just pushes.
Good defensive play by Mistace.
Yeah, Mistace hasn't really been fortunate on these injury rolls, though. Just rolling stuns. Could have positioned the Sarah the Man-Eater to take advantage of guard. Rather than do this dodge, he could have done a 1-die. And there's his result.
Man.
Yeah, he's going to lose his plus agility. Well, that was not his plus agility. That was the dodge tackle.
Fortunately, they don't have that much dodge on their team, so it should be okay. Still, a loss of a blocker is going to set Mistace back, especially when you consider his other units aren't off the field yet with only stunts.
Yeah, Mistace is now on a 2-man disadvantage. Not a good place where you want to be. If he can make it through and score and not lose any more players, he'll still have 11 players come next half. But
next kickoff, you mean?
Yeah, the next half. Or next kickoff. There's going to be one more kickoff, but that's basic. If you do score, you're probably going to try to score on turn 8. And your opponent's just going to get some LOS blocks.
If I were in Mistace, I'd focus on bashing these Vikings back where they belong right now.
Yeah, but being down 2 players, it's fairly difficult. The Shoot 9 can put a lot of pressure now because he has that man advantage.
That frenzy push.
He opts not to block with the Palm Berserker, but rather just go with the Ulf Blitz. Probably because you wouldn't really use piling on here, so it makes sense. You don't really want this Berserker getting hit. With Frenzy, you have to force follow into the cage, so you need to make sure your assist set up so you don't Frenzy trap yourself into a 2 against. And a Berserker is
He's got the corners marked.
Yeah, but it should be just a simple 2-die blitz with the Heartbreaker or... Oh, the Dauntless fails. Better not reroll the Dauntless. That's a mistake. You just gotta let it go and do the 1-die. Then you reroll. Yep.
Knocks him back.
Are we gonna see a dead Ulf here?
Injury.
Maybe.
Oh,
That's
wow.
getting APO'd. And fortunately, the APO succeeded. But down an Ulf, that really hurts for the Neckbeardz. Fortunately, he'll come back next kickoff, but now with only 2 strength 4 pieces on the pitch.
He's going to reestablish the cage.
Yeah, it should be pretty easy. He can still block with the Peasant. If he doesn't get the down with the Peasant, then you could probably try to move around a little bit. Go a little bit to the upper left. Maybe try to block down the other Ulf. But since he used his reroll already, this Peasant block isn't exactly safe. So... It was kind of curious why he positioned the Jackal here rather than put him in his original spot. If he had put him in his original spot, he could have pushed the runner away, and then the cage would be completely unmarked. But now there's a hole that the runner can dodge in and blitz the carrier.
He can still move his ball handler, so we'll see what happens now.
Yeah, he can still move, but... I don't see a place where he'll be able to protect him 100%. Unless he does a sideline cage. So he moves the blitzer all the way to the sideline, the ball carrier all the way to the sideline, and the other blitzers just one square off as corners. But then you also are going to get surfed. So it's not really that good of an option. You're going to get surfed due to the frenzy of the Berserker, who's unmarked.
That's 2 frenzy pieces on the board right now, next to each other, and stopping the advance, straightforward. So I would recommend, you know, I would be wary of those.
So we're going to see a 1-die with the blocker. I don't know how I feel about that, though. Because if it's going to be a 1-die block, since you don't have guard. If you roll either a both down or a... Okay, he gets the push, but there are 2 outcomes which are pretty bad for you. And especially since you already burned your reroll, it's a pretty high risk. It's something that you would not really want to do, but is able to establish a complete cage with a dodge here, 1-die there.
That's a tight cage there.
Yeah. Fortunately, neither team, they were exactly the same team value. They weren't going to get any inducements unless they put their own money in, and neither of them had enough money for a wizard. This would be a great wizard target, a great fireball right in the middle there, but since these teams are so evenly matched, we're not going to see it. But even though he knocked down a single Ulf, the Schuttenheim still has a one-person advantage and a considerable amount more strength and block. So, and with that,
oh, at death.
Yeah, that's getting
APO.
Yeah, blitzers are and the APO works again. Is surprising sometimes. A lot of the times you'll roll dead into double dead, but not this game. With that, it goes back to a 2-man advantage for the Neckbeardz.
It's your first quarter, and both teams have already used their APOs, so we're going to see some later injuries pile up, maybe.
Yeah, especially if Misdays is going to go with a foul-heavy approach. I think he got burned by it before. Shouldn't probably turn away from it if there's a good foul on a key positional like the Palm Berserker or the Ulf.
The Ulf.
Because he still has plenty of peasants, and he's still up. He still will have 11 players, assuming that no more are removed from the pitch. But
question. On the rules in Blood Bowl, when a player fouls, do they get replaced?
Ooh, what do you mean by replaced?
Do they can they get replaced by another player?
If you mean like come next half, you can always field 11 players as long as those players are able to play.
Gotcha. So a fouled player would be off the pitch for the entire game as if they were injured.
That is correct.
But they could still be replaced. Their slot could still be replaced by someone else. That's
in this case, you'll have another peasant to take his place. I think Misdays is trying to make a break for it here. He's going to start running that blitzer up and left. Or at least he's thinking about it. He's thinking how we can screen off the other linemen here and protect his blitzer as he runs up. He might just go back. But he does have a free lineman and a free blitzer that can be used to screen off these guys.
He's got the peasant too. Oh, the lineman, yes. Correct.
Yeah, but staying where he is right now is probably not the safest. Yeah, and it looks like he's going to... Oh, no, he's going to form... He's probably going to try to form an ad hoc cage.
The Norse are fast enough to run around his defenses, so.
He's going to need to do a dodge, though, in order to get that cage to be somewhat secure. He only needs to get 3 corners, the top right, the bottom left, and the bottom right. Bottom left, the bottom right being the least critical because there's a blocker kind of already in there. And he gets the dodge. Yeah, but good positioning by Misdays. Probably shouldn't have rerolled this dodge, because he now only has 1 reroll left, and the half's only half done.
I would probably take out Ser, the Man-Eater, if I were Das, and clear that path right through.
I'm surprised. This Palm Blitzer's not really getting a lot of the blitzes. Well, I would have expected a lot more. In order to get those pitch clears.
That block brings Leroy Jenkins down for the count.
A stun, but the blitzers behind are still quite free and mobile and able to run down the pitch. And since he has guard on these blockers, he needs to commit more people in order to get these blocks. Or he could try to go for the 1-die.
That blocker has wrestle.
I would think you would take advantage of the wrestle here. Well, I guess, but you would still want your guy up, I guess. He doesn't have jump up, so he won't be able to get that far if he was on the ground.
It'll be easy for Mid-State to close that cage right away once those blitzers on the left side can come in to help.
Yeah, that's 2 players for a cage, though, which would basically... Yeah, and he's going to mark those, which is the right thing to do. At least, well, mark 1 so he can't simply just get hit back. That leaves only the ball carrier and a single blitzer, which happens to be the Mighty Blow blitzer. So chances are it's going to be that piece who's doing the blitz. Not sure why he dodged his dirty player lineman. I think he's feeling like he really needs to reduce the amount of hits he's going to take to Schuttenheim. So he dodged that lineman out. But it also frees up Rolf the Slayer. And it makes it easier for Sayer the Man-Eater or Jacques the Cripple, whoever Misdays prefers, to go upfield. But you can't go up too recklessly because he has multiple pieces, especially that plus strength runner who can just do a 2-die blitz right on the carrier without any assists.
If it was up to me, I would score as soon as possible and use the defensive half of this to basically foul or injure the crap out of the other team.
He frees up the peasant as opposed to the blocker. While the peasant block isn't as safe, the blocker also has plus agility, which you would like to have upfield, especially if you needed to do some sort of handoff or some sort of pickup. It would be a lot easier with this plus agility blocker, but opts to go for the safer play.
The peasant makes for a better cageman, though, with its fend.
Yeah, the fend doesn't allow you to follow up. But the berserkers are close enough where they can generally just move after the blitz. Of course, you can't really take advantage of the frenzy, but there's sometimes where you want to take advantage of that frenzy, and there's sometimes when you actually don't. And this is the one complaint that I have with Blood Bowl 2. One of many complaints is that you can't use fend optionally. And you're probably thinking, well, when would you not want to use fend? And the most obvious case is against a frenzy piece who is going to frenzy trap himself. If you know you aren't going to get knocked down, you should be able to choose not to use fend and force the frenzy piece to do an unfavorable block. But unfortunately, they didn't implement that for Blood Bowl 2. I think it was that way in CE, but I do not remember for certain. So it looks like we're going to see another dodge for Carl's the Heartbreaker. And he makes it
dodge
with 3. So the cage is formed yet again.
Misdays can probably now take his sweet time hitting down the enemy.
The Knights Husseini have been making a lot of their dodges, despite them being 3+. Been putting the Schuttenheim at a pretty deep disadvantage, at least downfield. At this point, you have to think as the Schuttenheim whether you can actually feasibly stop the score, since the Blitzer's in scoring position with a single GFI. There are multiple people in scoring position. It's going to be very hard to stop the score unless he can force the ball out. Okay, it's going to go into a 1-die. But he might try to re-roll it now to get those... Okay. And it'll be a 1-die block with the skull. So that will be re-rolled into another push.
That puts a wall between the ball carrier and the touchdown line.
Yeah. But that Palm Blitzer is going to get hit with Mighty Blow. And that could take him out of the game. Unfortunately, with Frenzy, you have to force follow. And so he was really hoping on knocking down Godfrey the Jackal. Perhaps getting an armor break, but no luck at all. Just 3 pushes and had to burn a reroll on it. So, Mistace is just going to go, the Schuttenheim is going to go full pressure, just man-mark everybody. Try to force at least some dice. Opts to block with the Wrestler as opposed to the Blitzer. And in this case, it actually helps him with the Wrestle.
Do you think a pass-off would be feasible to Godfrey the Jackal? That would raise his level next turn.
You could do it. But then you'd have to score now, and that's exactly what the Schuttenheim is trying to force him to do. Right now, he's still based, though, so he'd have to do a dodge. There's really no one who can blitz, other than Godfrey the Jackal, but you need to cancel out the R-Fit runner. Mistace is going to have to roll some dice here. So he opts to do some 1 dice. Gives Millet of the Light some room to dodge out, maybe do a handoff. Looks like that's what he's going to do. And at this point, he has no one to protect Godfrey the Jackal, so he just scores.
If it were me, I would score 2 this turn. There's too much pressure.
Fortunately, that gives the Schuttenheim 3 turns and 2 rerolls with all 11 players. So, should give him a good edge. Both players are still at a full roster. Well, minus those that were injured, the Peasant and the Raj Tackle blocker.
And look at those cheerleaders going down.
Mistace goes for a very defensive formation, really trying to preserve his player count. It leaves the sides incredibly wide open, though. It allows the Schuttenheim to establish some kind of running lane down one of the sides. Make it a lot easier to move downfield.
He's confident that Das Schuttenheim can't get it in 2 turns, but Norse are fairly fast as well.
I mean, optimally as Norse, if it's a close kick, you may not even need to do a handoff in 3 turns. If it's a deep kick, you'd probably have to have someone go back for it, and then do maybe a handoff pass, or a pass, depending on where you are in the field, if you have any sort of cutoff guy. Yeah, it's a shame that he's putting the Ulfs, and they're not going to be able to use the Frenzy on these Peasants because they have Fend. So if he doesn't get the initial knockdown, they're just going to be free to move wherever. And it looks like he's going to try to blitz Willet the Wolf, because his palm blitzer is over on this side. It's a quick snap. The ball is deep though, so with that quick snap though, I think those runners will be able to get up the field pretty fast.
The 7 movement allowance isn't much faster than the rest of the team, which is 6.
That is true, but you'd be surprised how big of a difference that has over multiple turns. That's effectively 3 squares of movement over a 6 movement piece over 3 turns. It's a big difference. It's the reason why Elf teams and Skaven team are so good at scoring so quickly. And there's a KO on Leroy Jenkins. Quite close to an injury, but not quite.
You called it. Well, it's getting blitzed.
If this isn't a KO, I'm kind of expecting... Oh, it is a KO, so piling on won't be used here.
He's going to screen off the sideline and make sure his runners have a clean run.
Yeah, he's establishing a running lane on the right side of the field. Well, it'd be his left, but from Mistace, it's on the right. Probably has to re-roll it because he wants to get that runner upfield as far as he can. If he doesn't pick it up here, you'd have to do some kind of throw. There goes the lineman. Our picks. It's the dirty player lineman too. I don't think DeSchutenheim would foul that much unless he could get down the mighty blow blitzer. That's the key positional he wants to get down to avoid those casualties.
It looks like Mist isn't going to pull back and extend the net, but cut off half his players from the other half.
DeSchutenheim does have one player in scoring position. Not a player you would want to score with or try to. It's a loner lineman. Tries to dodge out a peasant, but with that AG2, it's a 50-50 on whether that would actually work or not. Saves his reroll for the final turn. Likely when the handoff or the pass is going to take place.
Michael, the maimed is maimed.
Fortunately, they're just KOs. They're going to have a chance to come back in the next couple of turns.
Next turn, actually.
Technically, it's still turn 7, at least for the Neckbeardz. Opts for a blitz on Rolf the Slayer. Does not get him down, though. It should be okay, though.
So he's going to change lanes, apparently?
It'd be pretty hard for him to get... You wouldn't want to score with R. Iama because he's only agility 2. Yeah, but it looks like he's going to put a runner in scoring position on the left side. My guess is that his approach, Mistay's approach, is going to be to put multiple players in scoring position. The Palm Berserker is probably going to go around on the other side, forcing Mistay's to blitz one and then mark the other. It's going to be very hard for him to get to our sports, though. Could use a GFI on a 1-die. So a total of 2 GFIs to knock down our sports. So he needs to bring another player downfield to score with. So that should probably be our fat people hate. It'd force one of these blitzers, or at least it'd force one of these players to stay and mark him, rather than all just go left.
That R-fit, once he passes it off, can be a good screener because of his high strength, actually.
Yeah, it would be a good screener, but it's going to be the very last turn of the half. Mistays would have already done his last turn. You cannot use your GFI here. Oh, he does use the last GFI. Now he has to do a handoff without a GFI, so that's a 66% chance. More likely than not, but you do not want to be in a position where you have to roll dice without that reroll to score. Yeah, the Berserker's not even in scoring range. So he only has the Runner in scoring range. The Runner and Gifts are the only two players who are currently in scoring position. The first block here should be trivial, especially since Knights Husseini have a reroll, and he does get him down. So now he only needs to get down R Sports to prevent this score.
Dauntless players can only use their ability on offense, not defense, which means that he's down as usual. You can use any player to take him down.
Okay, so that frees up both blitzers. That was actually one of the better outcomes that could have happened. The wrestle. No, for mistakes, because he has both blitzers who can now move in. It'll be 2 GFIs total in order to get this block.
He's still got a reroll.
Yeah, and that effectively ends the Schuttenheim score. Largely because he only had one person in scoring position. Well, 2 people, but one who was going to get hit by Millet of Light. If he had put the other Berserker, the Palm Berserker, down on the right, he would still have a chance. But
that Berserker's tied up with 2 players. Oh, it's not a Berserker, never mind.
We're probably going to see a blitz with the Palm Berserker and a piling on. If it's not an injury or KO. Millet of Light could be a decent choice since he is the leader, which would give him... If he takes out Millet of Light, that puts Misdays at 2 rerolls for the second half. If he had some guard, he could try to take down the Mighty Blow piece. Or you can move the... Yes, I guess you can still do it. If you move the Werewolf, and I think that's what he's going to try to do. Gets that assist on Godfrey the Jackal, which would allow Fat People Hate to get that 2-die block. And we're going to see that piling on. Since there's no consequence, he cannot be fouled this turn. And only gets a stun. Probably see a Vanity Pass since our fit is only 1 SPP away from scoring. From leveling up. He'd level up if he scored, but a Vanity Pass will have to do. I'm guessing the Schuttenheim is debating whether he should foul Godfrey the Jackal. He has a couple spare linemen that could be used for the foul. And it looks like that's what he's going to try to do and fails the initial GFI. Unfortunately, he had lost his DP. And looks like the DP comes back. Misdays is now down 1 player. Leroy Jenkins didn't come back from the KO. He only had 2 spare peasants, and with those 2 injuries and a KO, he's now down 1.
If he had a few extra turns, he might have been able to score. So we'll see this on offense now.
What Dash Schuttenheim is probably going to try to do, if he can get enough player removals early on, he might try to score and score again. Otherwise, he'll opt for overtime. I think this match has overtime rules. I can't imagine a relegation match where you have a tie. You could play till overtime, hope you get the kickoff, which is usually a surefire way to win, because it's a lot harder to defend, especially in this case. With all these relatively fast players. It's not like we're fighting Elves or Skaven, where it pretty much guarantees you the
Extra
score.
rerolls. They'll come in handy for both teams. It might also mean that they might risk more.
And there goes Jocks the Cripple.
Jock the Cripple is injured. This once told me that none of his peasants could retire from the bloody sport of Blood Bowl.
But aside from that, the other two peasants didn't break armor. We're going to see that blitz again by the Palm. Opts not to bring the DP down. Might see piling on, maybe? No. Main reason why I would think that would be because he's basing Godfrey the Jackal, who has Mighty Blow.
Those peasants can get right up and foul him right back when he's on the floor.
They're going to get based by one of these linemen, I'm pretty sure. Since he didn't bring our picks, it almost seems like he'll use it to foul the blocker White Wolf with our picks.
The dirty player.
Yeah. It'll only be a 1 assist foul. It's not incredibly likely to work. And he does the DFI.
He's gonna reroll.
Yeah. You still will need to do one more GFI in order to get that 2 assist blitz. You could base Sayer the Man-Eater, but then he'll provide a negative assist. He'll only make it a 1 assist blitz. Kind of defeating the point of using that reroll. Chose not to mark the peasants, though. And a KO.
KO.
No send-off, so that was a very successful
Very
foul
lucrative.
by De Schuttenheim. There's a good chance we'll see a foul on our Fat People Hate. It'll be at least a 1 assist foul, but maybe we won't even need to. Just a stun. Probably not worth the foul now since he is stunned. Especially since you have no bribes and you're down players. But you could try... If you're expecting to play this game into overtime and all those extra turns, you might want to get rid of this Palmer as early as you can. But is it really worth losing another peasant? No.
That's a star player there. It's
And he does foul. Doesn't even break armor. If he had had one more assist, it would have worked. But it was only a 1 assist foul.
Tell me, how do assists work? Do they reroll the armor dice?
They add a modifier of 1. So in this case, when you foul, you need to roll an 8 or better on a no assist foul to break armor. And then you roll for injury. But since he has 1 assist, he needs to roll a 7 or better. And he rolled a 6. So if he had one more assist, you would have had the 6+ roll needed for armor break. But didn't add that additional assist. He got the peasant up a little too soon. If he wanted to foul, he probably should have put one more assist. But there's also no guarantee it'll do anything since he's already stunned. If you foul a stunned player and you roll stunned again, it effectively does nothing. but the left flank, the left side of the field is pretty thin. Especially with the Ulfs in a position to go down that angle. Especially blitz down Charles the Heartbreaker and any of these other 3 blitzers or blockers. But opts to blitz a peasant. Probably to try to reduce the player count again. That does not break armor.
Is putting his players in position to score?
I guess he's putting our politics in a position to score, but I'm thinking it's more just a running lane, trying to get people downfield so that he can start moving his runner without worrying about these players over on the right, these blitzers in particular. I don't think he'll try to hand it off to our politics unless he attempts to score quickly. He hasn't really gotten enough players down yet where I'd feel comfortable trying to score quickly enough. Because what you would do after that is, if you felt like you had a large enough player advantage that you could basically crowd the LOS with your guys and not worry about having to get blocked, and then hope for either a blitz or some sort of defensive kickoff event, the perfect defense kickoff event. Oh, but he chooses to score with the other runner? He's going to have to do 2 GFIs without a reroll. Might just choose to bring the ball back.
No, he's going to go for it. I have a feeling. But he's down 2 rerolls.
Yeah, but he just used his own reroll. Yeah, if he fails that roll, it allows Misdays to pretty much pick it up unimpeded. Unfortunately,
touchdown in the second turn.
Yeah, unfortunately the GFIs go through. Let's see if any of the KOs come back. No, Misdays is still down those 2 KOs. Putting him effectively at 8 players. Wow. Well, the Schuttenheim still has all 11 players, shocking as that is, since he only started out with 11 as Norse.
Norse tend not to do it well on the long run.
Especially with all the Mighty Blow hits he's been taken by Godfrey the Jackal, just has not gotten those key pitch removals, aside from the Ulf, which was APO'd.
It's surprising because the Norse are basically naked in terms of armor when it comes to getting hit, but they've gotten surprisingly very lucky with the injury rolls. Right on the sideline. That's going to be hard to pick up.
He has his agility 4 blocker. He'd need to roll a 1 in order to fail that pickup.
Mist might not have enough players to comfortably set up a cage at this point.
He shouldn't need to set up a cage. What he's going to try to do now is he needs to score preferably towards the end of the turn. With the ball this far back, the Schuttenheim can't really put a whole lot of pressure on it. So he brings it back farther, effectively making it so he could start bringing... He's going to try to stretch the field here, especially being down players. Hopefully taking down this Ulf in the process. And he does.
Injury. Yes.
But with no Apo, you cannot take that Ulf back. That's going to be gone for the rest of the game.
He's bringing him back to defend him. Frank the Lame there has some sort of cleft flip, apparently.
Yeah, all the peasants, all the peasants look very interesting. Some of them with one eye. Fortunately, there's only actually one peasant on the field right now. The rest of them are off. Oh no, there's another one. Camouflaged. There's only two peasants on the field.
Playing Blood Bowl can really shorten your lifeline. Looks like Mist opted to name all his peasants' injuries. Frank the Lame, Michael the Maimed, Jacques the Cripple. You see that net stretching out. It's coming to envelope the player of the ball.
Surprised he pushed him to the side. Could have pushed him downwards. Fortunately, the Schuttenheim still has safeties in the back. With pretty much everyone marked short of Millet the Light. Likely gonna have to roll some dice here. He's gonna be able to get up his guard Rolf the Slayer.
Oh, there
Or
goes
no,
the
he's going
foul.
for the foul, but it's gonna be a 0 assist foul. And yes, it doesn't work. Despite the dirty player. It's on armor 8, so
9+ roll. Roll the 6.
actually an 8+. Because the one thing that they should fix, is they should account for the fact that dirty player was in that roll. It was an 8+ roll, effectively giving it a 41% chance, which is not awful. Fortunately, with that guard, he wouldn't need to follow up. But he didn't knock him down anyway, so he probably would have opted not to. Yeah, but
That
everyone's
Blitzer
marked
might-
now. So
That blitzer might punch a hole through those linemen, maybe.
what I'm guessing he's gonna do is he's gonna try to blitz one of his blitzers free. It's gonna probably be Carl's the Heartbreaker. Gonna blitz our picks, and it'll allow him to move without having to do any dodges.
And then you'd say he'd mark R Sports.
Yeah. I think he'll just end up screening. He can move up far enough. Maybe with the GFI. Or he'll try a handoff. It looks like that's what he's going to try here. Or a sideline cage?
Side cage.
But he really needs this one die to work. Dauntless goes and gets the knockdown. Mighty Blow causes the stun there. And another one. So it puts his Mighty Blow Blitzer in a pretty bad position here. Since he's only 2 squares away, it'll allow for the surf.
And you got Frenzy, too.
That is a 1 against foul. Actually 2 against. Needed to roll a 10 or greater. Alright.
that triangular formation between the three blitzers is really screening off the Norse, making sure that they don't just run in and push the blocker off.
So Dishoonheim has a couple options here. He can either try to use his Ulf and surf Karl's the Heartbreaker from behind, which will result... He'll have to do 2 GFIs in order to do that. Probably bring R Sports to provide an assist so that the ball carrier doesn't make it a 1-die. The other option would be to use R Ima, do a GFI... Actually, no, he's in a tackle zone. Okay, that doesn't work. Oh, but Frank the Lame dies. So I'm guessing we're going to see a surf here.
Mist doesn't talk about his peasants much, but when he does, they're usually spoken about disparagingly. The note about Bretonnian teams is that even loner peasants are just as good, almost just as good as regular peasants.
Are we going to see an attempted 1-die surf then? Or is it going to be a fairly conservative play? It doesn't look like Dishoonheim's going to take the risk here. Or maybe...
He's just adding the pressure on the ball. He can't go back, so he'll have to go forward.
Yeah, but he is going to go for the 1-die surf. Gets the initial push. And the surf on the Mighty Blow Blitzer.
The crowd, the fans don't look happy.
Quite fortunate.
That was a risky play, but it was a good gamble. Stop that play in its tracks.
The blocker can still move upfield. All he needs to do is bring up Michael the Maimed and then blitz with the ball carrier to move up, but there is no one to defend him.
It would be a potato play, as they call it traditionally.
Might be able to free up one of these blitzers, though. At least to the point where he can actually move them. But he'd have to still do a dodge.
That Berserker goes down. No injury.
Armor 7 is holding up quite well. Only the Ulfs have taken a considerable amount of damage, and they're Armor 8. It's a pretty atypical game. Unlike Mistays, whose all of his peasants are almost effectively off. There's only one left. But they've served their purpose.
Is he going to go for a long pass? Highly unlikely. The odds don't look good.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to. He does 2 dodges. Or maybe he's just going to stay there. That's probably the better decision.
That's a 4 agility blocker.
Oh! Goes for the pass. It really wouldn't help him even if he made it. Does get inaccurate, which allows him to punt the ball downfield, and it's fortunate that it's up left. But there's still a lot of linemen that can get there. It's effectively a punt, which was actually not a bad idea. Unfortunately, it means that Karl's the Heartbreaker is probably going to get surfed, thanks to this R Advice Animals. There's the initial push. Just needs another one. And he gets 2 of them.
This is not looking good for Mist right now.
An injury with no APO. Diving catch blitzer.
He gets lucky, no permanent damage.
Yeah, but if this game goes to overtime, he'll only have 2 of his blitzers left. Actually, no, he'll have... The other one did not get injured, so he'll be coming back. But not many players left. Uses piling on to make this, to further his advantage, gets another injury.
Michael the Maimed is actually maimed. Well, not maimed, actually, but badly hurt.
There are only 5 players on the pitch. Should see a blitz to contain Millet the Light. Does get the knockdown. I'm surprised neither of these coaches have used many of their rerolls. I believe they both started with 4, so that means the Neckbeardz only used 1 of them. But
the thing is, there was 2 extra rerolls for both sides from kickoff.
yeah, they each started with 3. And knowing that, that's why the Neckbeardz is... Oh, he opts to do the foul on the leader blitzer, Millet of Light. And does not break armor. On a 6+. Hoping to get the player count down to 3. Just came up short. The game did not go the way I expected it, though. Misdays had a sizable bench with 13 players, but the Schunheim just completely ate through it. But Misdays is just gonna have to roll dice. He has 4 turns and 4 rerolls. No reason not to take risk, especially since you can end this game right now. Could try to survive to overtime, but since you have so few players, even if you did get the ball, it's not going to be in as good of a position as it is now. But manages to pick up the ball.
He's not going to be able to get the ball back downfield like that.
Just needs to hope that Sayer the Maneater can remain standing despite the incoming blitz. Whoa, opts to blitz with... What the? He's going to do a chain push. Huh. Which will allow him to put one of his linemen on the ball carrier in order to do that block. But I'm surprised. I would have done the blitz. It's pretty risky since there's so few turns in this match. Piling on will probably be used here. Maybe not. Thinking about it, opts not to use it. But since he used his blitz, he will only have 1 chance to get him down, and he cannot push him back. He can't push him down. The thing I'm concerned with is, let's say he doesn't knock him down. Even, like... The Sayer the Maneater could just dodge in and score with a GFI and a dodge, both 2+ rolls.
He's going to stand that player up and get the extra assist.
Yeah. Well,
the assist doesn't really matter, but it's for the dodge, making dodge harder.
He just wants to mark Perfect the Swift so that if this block is not successful, you can't get some sort of blitz going. Especially since he's up so many players. Just have to try to keep the Knights of Knee contained. I'm still surprised you would opt to blitz with your palm in this scenario. Does get the knockdown though. With that agility 4, that could be very dangerous. He is still in scoring position. Should have pushed him down and back. It would be a 3+ dodge into a 3+ pickup, 2+ dodge into GFIs. But still has that is our fit. Takes the ball.
Are you sure there's overtime on this match?
I am pretty sure, since this should be a playoff match. If nobody won... Oh, but Snake Eyes, the GFI, probably won't matter unless there's some godly dice that are rolled here, but... Trying to get Arfit down the field to score. The Schuttenheim only has 2 turns, so the only person who would really be capable of scoring in this would probably be R Sports. And that might be where Mistdays wants to focus his attack. Could try to get to the ball. It's very difficult. He's going to have to do either 4+ dodges or maybe 1-die blitzes with dodges in order to mark our sports. Not saying that there could be other players that could go into scoring position, but the only other player who can get into scoring position aside from the Ulfwerner would be either Arpix or Grimmer Anderson. Ardunarsson. You wouldn't want to really score with the loner. Yeah, it's a weird name. Ardunarsson. But opts to go for the easier of the dodges. Has all of his rerolls, but no good. I'm guessing he was going to try to do a 1-die blitz on our fat people hate. Hope to move the ball into a better position. Did not get it. And there goes another blitzer. Percivalis the Swift. Though if I were to Schuttenheim, the most important thing is to get someone in scoring position this turn, because if you fail any sort of dice, and this runner is not in scoring position, you are going to overtime.
You might not mind overtime because of the sheer player advantage he has.
Opts to do a pass? I guess we're going to overtime. Probably going to see a blitz on Millet of Light to get rid of that leader reroll. But Mistdays already used it, so not really the greater of the 2 targets.
He's not going to get up after that.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Schuttenheim didn't try for the touchdown here. There's
got
no
2 turns.
Well, he needs to have someone in scoring position this turn, and since he doesn't, he cannot score. I don't know if Schuttenheim realizes that or is actively trying to play for overtime. But in overtime, you have another kickoff event. Anything can happen. Even though the Neckbeardz do have a severe player advantage, it's giving Mistdays a chance to take the game.
I would, if I were Schuttenheim, I would take that dice roll. It's not much of a dice roll because that player advantage is huge. It's 5 players effectively off, and the KOs who come back might be off too.
I wonder if that long pause was because Schuttenheim realized what turn it was then. So we're going to see a blitz on the Ulf.
A failed Dauntless.
Opts to reroll Dauntless. Shocking. Would have probably been better to re-roll the 1-die. I guess it...
This is having a bad run of luck right now.
GFI failure, but fortunately no armor break. Yeah, but since it's turn 16, might as well opt for a vanity pass to level up our fit, but brings him downfield. Doesn't really matter though at this point in the game, since it's unlikely that Mistdays could even get to him.
With 3 players on the field, 2 of them lying in their backs, there's not much chance for Mistdays to come back.
We'll see another foul. It'll probably be maybe a 8-assist foul with DP. No reason not to. Unless he wants to protect our advice animals. That would.
He's still got that blitz.
Opts to do only a 6-assist foul.
The refs don't even give a damn anymore, being its last turn.
Yeah, that's right, Squiggy. That's what it looks like. But maybe Mistdays can pull it out. It's a skull re-rolled into a POW. Can he get this Ulf winner off the pitch? Not quite. Just gets the stun. But he does get a hit on the Palm Berserker, but no armor break. Oh, and that's the end of the game. So there was no overtime. It is a tie. So if this is the best of 3, I'm curious how we're going to decide who advances and who doesn't. Maybe Gamba set up the match wrong. That would not be a surprise to me. But generally, postseason matches, you do need a winner to decide who would be advancing and relegating. The Neckbeardz definitely dominated this match, especially late in the second half. Probably should have won it.
That was very good luck for Mistdays. He only had 1 death, and